This is another piece of Siberian elm from the tree that we had trimmed a little over a year ago, and it's full of burls as well. I've made a tool that helps me to mount this on the lathe much easier when it has this irregular shape on it. So let's get over to the lathe and I'll show you what we have. Well, I'm going to use this piece of Siberian elm. It's a trimming from what we had done about a year ago. This is one of the bigger branches that was up high. It has lots of burl on it. So one thing I'm going to show you is I made a turning 3 months ago out of a similar piece, and the direction I turned it, I thought it looked great, and I still do. But I had 2 or 3 comments that thought that I should have turned it the other way. They thought it might look nicer. It might, so guess what? We're going to do that. The other thing is, with all this burl on here, I want to use a worm screw, and you put it in your chuck. Well, I would have to drill a really big hole to get it down and sit flat. I came across a design that Tuffy Marginis had made, and it's a way to get a much smaller drilled hole. So this is not exactly like what Tuffy made, but it's off that idea. It's a piece of round bar stock. I bored a hole in here. I have a metal lathe. I cut the threads to match my lathe. Put a hole down here, put a lag screw in it, and there's a set screw that holds it in place, so it's interchangeable. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'll cut some corners off of this, and I'll come back and show you how I put this on, which is easy, and then we'll put the piece on and we'll start turning. Alright, let's go ahead and get this mounted up. Tighten up real nice. So there, when I cut this, you can see right here the burling showing up, and all around in here. So I think it's going to look pretty cool. Alright, let me get sharpened up and I'll be right back. 400 RPMs, 5/8 bowl gouge. Alright, so I have it pretty much round now, lots of voids, and it's nowhere near the shape I was after. And if I see something going on in here like all of this, and I think I'm gonna cut it away going after a different shape, well, I'll just change my mind and let the wood show what it wants to show. Try not to cut away. But I do have some more to cut. I certainly don't want it looking like this. "700 RPM. So I'm going to cut this soft area away. I also have a rather large crack that comes down through here. But I think we'll be cutting it this way as well as that way. I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. I'm going to get this cut away, see what this looks like here. And then we've got 4 more trees to plant. So I need to go do that. I'm going to go ahead and mark for a tenon, and I'll get that cut on, and that's probably all for today. It's getting late. Well, after I stopped, I closely examined this, and the crack ran almost all the way around this tenon. There wasn't going to be a way for me to even salvage that without maybe epoxying it in place. And actually, I tried on it a few times like that, and it was just totally cracked. So I think what I'll do, and it's still a little bit longer than what my other one is, so I'll shorten it a little bit, and I will put a new tenon on it. So I went ahead and cut the tenon on here because I still had a large crack and I didn't trust it. But it actually looks like it's going to be okay. And this piece kind of has a mind of its own. So I'm not going to be able to do what I was thinking, but I still think it's going to be a pretty nice looking piece. So it's just a matter of trying to do some reshaping here and utilize these burls to the best, and I'm getting some here, so just not sure where I'm going to end up. Back to the 5/8 bowl gouge, I'm going to knock this corner off and start putting a shape on it. So this shape from here up to there is really on track with what I was thinking of doing. But I don't want to cut this away, and that's what I would need to do to make a reversal of what I was talking about. And that's not important to me to do that right now. What's important is to not cut away some of this lighter colored wood. And if I keep going on that angle, I think it's going to be gone. So what I'm going to do is sand this area here. I'm going to flip it around so I can cut the inside of here and see where we're at. So I will sand in reverse at about 400 RPMs with 80 grit, just going from here to about there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and flip it around and see if I can get something up here. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to have. Alright, turning around even looks worse than the other direction. I don't think there's much wood behind that bark. But I'll start by cleaning it up, and I'm going to use my hollowing tool for that. And I'll know real soon what I can get out of this, but it's not looking good. 800 RPMs. Well, alright, there is wood. And that's it's probably a 1/4 inch thick. Okay, we will keep going. I'll go ahead and drill this out, make it a little bit easier. Okay, well, I got a 2 1/8 inch hole drilled in it. Got a 1/4 inch wall here. Right at the neck there, that's now a 1/2 inch. So, I'm going to go back to a 1/2 inch bowl gouge for a while. Just try to continue this straight down in here, and then I'll have to use hollowing tools. .700 RPMs. Alright, that feels pretty good. Now to try to hollow it out. Okay, we'll start out with this little swan neck and see what I can get here. Then I'll probably turn in reverse so I can reach that side. That didn't work too bad. Oh yeah, got right in there. Better make sure I don't get excited and cut it all away. Yeah, we're down about 3/8 right here. I think I'm going to call that good enough. This will be a little hard to see, so I'll show you a little bit of what I'm doing, but just trying to thin that wall out and work my way to the bottom. And it's reaching out there a little ways, but not too bad. It's cutting pretty nice, so it may not be all that hard to do. Alright, I'll just get what I can out of there, and I'll be back when it's time to sand it. All ready to sand now, and before I do, this bark is pretty soft, and I tried this before. It's Varathane wood hardener, and all I did was just paint it into the soft bark, and it really soaks in quick. And on the other piece I did, it really toughened it up. It made it easier to sand. And it makes it dark, but once you sand it, it seems to lighten back up. I'll go around and do that on the inside here and the outside, and I'll be back and we'll do the finish sanding on the whole piece. Alright, it's time to sand, and I'll start with the Sandiflex in this bark area where I put the wood hardener. And this has only been sanded to 80 here, and I did that before I flipped it. So I'll go ahead and sand some of that with the 120, and then I'll continue with sanding it by hand with 120. And the inside, I'm just going to have to sand that by hand because there's not a lot of continuation of wood there to try to do it under power. So we'll go ahead and start with the Sandiflex here. So that's what that's going to look like, and I'll do the rest of it in reverse with sheets of paper because I can reach down in here and get some of that. So I don't think it's going to be too hard, and you can see it is lightening up that bark. So I'll get it all sanded and come back and we'll put a finish on it. I have it sanded to 400, and I plan on using shellac. So I'll use the shellac based sanding sealer on it. I'm going to get it on this bark area first, and then I can wipe the rest of it in with a rag. Alright, and I'll do the same thing on the inside. Get the ends of the bark. So I'll get at least one more coat of sealer on it, and then I'll give it a couple coats of shellac, and I'll be back and it'll be time to remove the tenon. Well, I'm ready to take the tenon off. I've got a branch here that I used for another deep turning, padded material on it. Bring up the tailstock, check and see how it runs. It actually looks pretty good. So I've got a freshly sharpened 1/2-inch bowl gouge, about 600 RPMs. Yeah, I'm going to switch to a spindle gouge here. I'll slow it down a little bit. It's kind of a long nub on there. I don't trust it that much. Yeah, I think I might just see if that'll snap off like that. Okay, I'll get this sanded up and get some finish on it. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm all done. But I did talk about this piece. It's Siberian elm as well. And I made that a few months ago, and I like it just the way it is. I had a couple of comments that it would have looked better this way. Well, I think it looks good that way. I decided to go ahead and see if I could make one with the opening on this end. Well, I guess I failed in that because this is what I ended up with. You can see from here down it was heading that way, but I'll tell you what, there's no way I would have cut this off of here. You got that bark inclusion coming up and spreading around like that. I really like it a lot. It finished 6 3/4 inches tall. It's 4 1/4 across this way, and it's about 4 1/4 at the widest down here. I used shellac-based sanding sealer, 2 coats, and 2 coats of shellac. And then I went over it with the fine Scotch-Brite. So, I don't consider this a failure, but I certainly didn't make it look like that. I like them both. Let me know what you think. But I really love this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I enjoy reading them all. Thank you to all my current subscribers. It really means a lot to me. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. I do videos weekly. If you click that share button, you can share it with all your friends on social media. That would be great. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks again, and until the next time, see you later.